This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. An exceptionally large hurricane with unusually high winds has hit Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, and the Cayman Islands. It is now threatening large parts of southern Mexico and may threaten U.S. Gulf Coast states within 48 hours. Peter Van Sant is on the hurricane watch.
You are looking at one of the most dangerous storms of the century. Hurricane Gilbert is a killer storm, packing winds of 160 miles per hour. It's a Category 5 hurricane, the deadliest and most powerful, and meteorologists believe it may turn towards the highly populated U.S. Gulf Coast.
It does look like that late Wednesday night, we're going to have this major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, and it certainly poses a threat for the entire Gulf Coast area from Brownsville all the way around to the panhandle of Florida.
Along the Texas coast, some businesses and homeowners are already boarding up, preparing for the worst, even though no official warnings have been issued.
I've never seen anything like this in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going to be devastating, and it's going to kill some people, those that refuse to evacuate.
It has been 19 years since a Category 5 hurricane struck the Gulf Coast. Since then, there has been tremendous waterfront development with thousands of new residents.
My concern would be that public officials have the courage to call for evacuations now, get people out so that the potential catastrophe out there waiting doesn't happen.
Hurricane Gilbert has already devastated Jamaica and the Cayman Islands and brought torrential rains to Cuba. One ham radio operator in Jamaica described the damage.
And we had a lot of glass blown out, plate glass windows, including one very close to me here in this room, and we've lost some interior walls, including my room, which looks like a bomb has gone off.
Indications are that property damage has been tremendous, that there are some 12,836 people in shelters.
Tonight, Gulf oil workers are being evacuated, and the entire Gulf Coast waits for Hurricane Gilbert to make its move. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Atlanta.
A short time ago, I spoke with Bob Sheets, director of the U.S. National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida, and asked him about the path of this large storm.
And right now, it's affecting the western tip of Cuba and now heading towards the northern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula and then into the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico.
Is it true that by Wednesday night we should know a great deal more about what areas of the United States, if any, are going to be affected?
You're exactly right. The question now is about the degree and the period of recurvature as to how much north, how much northwest as it enters the Gulf. The weather patterns are changing over the U.S., and we'll have to take a look at those tomorrow.
And probabilities, which is all you can talk about now, of states in the United States that should be most concerned.
Well, the greatest area of threat would have to be sort of the north central Gulf of Mexico westward.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News. Ray Berge on industrial smoke rising again as America fires up in search of the real gold. The money to be made in international trade.
On a fun ship cruise, you're eating fancy food and doing what you choose. I'd like your friends back home to get a good look at the first-rate carnival cruise that you took. All I can say is, wow, hey, look at where you are. What a fun ship, holy cow. They'd never believe it if your friends could see you now.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Lucky for this diver, he has a thin, powerful seal. So thin, it's virtually airtight. So powerful, it even holds up to pressure. No, it's not on this diver's mask. The seal is on his dentures. Extra Hold Fast Teeth has a seal so thin, yet so powerful, it's virtually airtight. For a hold that's closer to real than any ordinary adhesive, Extra Hold Fast Teeth, the Extra Hold seal that's closer to real.
A sink isn't the only place Woolite cleans safely and gently. Use the delicate cycle, and a lot of your hand washing won't need your hands.
Why, I like new microwave stuffing from Stovetop.
It's so easy. I can make it with my eyes closed.
You just mix it in its own dish, and zap! In 3 minutes, you get your favorite tasting stuffing. See?
New stovetop microwave stuffing.
8 weeks before American voters choose a new president, the latest CBS News New York Times poll indicates the issues may be continuing to work to George Bush's benefit. Leslie Stahl is here now with the detailed results. Leslie?
Dan, in that poll, Bush is maintaining the significant lead he captured over Dukakis after the Republican convention. Among probable voters polled from September 8th to 11th, Bush is now ahead by 8 points, 47% to 39. What may be more important, Bush's message is getting through.
He gives me the impression that he's opposed to every new weapon system since the slingshot.
Bush has been slinging Dukakis on the defense issue, and the voters appear to be listening. Nearly 2 of every 5 voters see Dukakis as likely to weaken U.S. defenses, Bush as more likely to strengthen them. And while 47% are uneasy about Bush's ability to handle an international crisis, they have far less confidence in Dukakis, 59% saying they'd be uneasy about him.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
The pledge, it's also working for Bush. 70% disagree with Dukakis on the issue, believing teachers should be required to lead students in the pledge. Half of them think so, even if it's unconstitutional. And Bush appears to have neutralized one of Dukakis' major points of attack, who will do more to protect the environment. Our poll shows the 2 candidates just about even.
This election is not about ideology. It's about competence.
Yes, voters agree. But when asked which candidate would be more competent at managing the federal government, 51% named Bush, only 32% said Dukakis.
The rich have gotten richer, the poor have gotten poorer, and those in the middle, and that means most of us, are getting squeezed.
There are some bright spots in the poll for Dukakis. He is viewed as the candidate who would do more for the middle class, and 2/3 say it's hard to find a well-paying job in their community.
You're a sweetie. How old are you, huh?
An overwhelming 58% say they'd be worried if Bush's running mate, Dan Quayle, became president, and that includes nearly half of Bush's own supporters. But Dukakis has failed to make Quayle stick as an issue with the voters.
The poll leaves you with a sense that the electorate is highly volatile. More than half of each candidate's supporters say they have reservations or claim their votes are mainly against the other guy. Almost a quarter say their preference could change. Dan?
Leslie, we shall see. On the campaign trail today, Dukakis was trying to improve his reputation among voters on foreign policy and defense. As Bruce Morton reports, the candidate was not just talking tough, he was doing his best to look tough.
Biff, bang, powie. It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's presidential candidate Michael Dukakis in an M1 tank as staff and reporters whoop it up.
Come on, Duke.
In the trade of politics, it's called a visual. The idea is pictures are symbols which tell the voter important things about the candidate. If your candidate is seen in the polls as weak on defense, put him in a tank. Words can help too. In the 8-minute speech that followed his spin, Dukakis, against a backdrop of tanks and flags, used the word strong 8 times.
We need a strong defense. It's going to be a strong national defense. We're going to have a strong and effective and credible nuclear deterrent. You can depend on it.
George Bush's campaign has been skillful with its visuals, but they send a different message. See me with the Disney characters. See me cut up a fish, awkwardly, just like the professionals do. See, I'm not a patrician, not an aristocrat. I'm a regular guy.
People can say, George Bush, yeah, he must be a nice guy. Look there, he's wearing a funny hat and he's holding a fish.
But it may work better when the message is personality than when a candidate is trying to indicate where he stands on an issue.
When you see Mike Dukakis on a tank, I think the first thing you wonder is, why is Mike Dukakis on a tank?
The visuals may help. Dukakis' serious business today was a speech on new initiatives in U.S.-Soviet relations, but the message the campaign cares about may well be strength, defense, a Massachusetts Rambo on the prowl.
So what did you think? Did I look like I belonged up there in that tank? Huh?
And anyway, it must have been one heck of a ride. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Detroit.
Another Bush campaign appointee resigned today amid charges of anti-Semitism. That makes 8 to step down or be fired in the past week. The latest is Rati Slavov, the co-chairman of something called Bulgarians for Bush, and allegedly one-time head of a pro-Nazi group. The House of Representatives broke with tradition today by opening its session with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the...
It had less to do with patriotism than politics. With the pledge now a hot issue in the presidential campaign, Democratic House Speaker Jim Wright announced that it will be recited each day until Congress adjourns next month. President Reagan signed legislation today designed to toughen up the nation's fair housing laws. At a Rose Garden ceremony, Mr. Reagan called it, and I quote, the most important civil rights legislation in 20 years. Among other things, the bill extends protection against housing discrimination to include the handicapped and families with children.
Now the whole country knows. We really took the wind out of their sails. The challenge is over, and we're America's champions.
Diet Pepsi is America's choice. In head-to-head taste tests, Diet Pepsi challenged and beat Diet Coke.
And by the way, we won the America's Cup too, with Diet Pepsi's support.
Dennis Conner and Diet Pepsi, America's champions.
Sometimes I don't know what to believe. What food's good for you, what's not. But I guess I can believe reports from the National Cancer Institute. They say some studies suggest a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. So I made some changes, like eating Kellogg's All-Bran. Just 1 tablespoon of All-Bran has more fiber than a whole serving of most other cereals. Am I going to change what I eat for breakfast? You better believe it.
High-fiber Kellogg's All-Bran.
If you have a cold and take Sudafed, there's something you should know. Contact 12-hour caplet. Stop the sneezing and runny nose that Sudafed can't.
Gesundheit.
Until there's a cure, there's contact.
Do you wear dentures and smoke like John? You can be a fresh mouth too. With Mint Fresh Smoker's Polident. Its super strength cleans tough tobacco stains. Its minty mouthwash ingredient freshens up dentures. Try Smoker's Polident, a mouth freshening clean.
President Reagan today signaled an end to the United States financial war with the United Nations. He authorized payment of $188 million in back dues, the first installment of more than $500 million the U.S. has withheld. A White House spokesman said Mr. Reagan is satisfied with the UN's budget reforms as well as with its peacekeeping efforts in Afghanistan, Southern Africa, and the Persian Gulf. Another TWA crew member took the witness stand today against Mohammed Ali Hamadi and testified that the hijacker took pride and joy in the killing of U.S. Navy diver Robert Stethem. As the evidence mounted at the murder trial in Frankfurt, kidnappers in Beirut who are believed to be linked with Hamadi released the last of their West German hostages. Bill McLaughlin has our report.
Today in Damascus, Rudolf Cordes became a free man after 20 months as a hostage in Lebanon. Looking gaunt but happy, Cordes was formally handed over to West German diplomats by Syrian officials.
I feel great.
Sources believe a group led by Muhammad Ali Hamadi's brother had held Cordes prisoner. There was speculation that Cordes would be freed only when Hamadi, on trial here in Frankfurt for murder and air piracy, was released from jail. At the Hamadi trial today, the chief judge welcomed the news of Cordes's release. He said it would put an end to speculation that Cordes's freedom depended on how the trial went.
Western intelligence sources have suspected all along that a secret diplomatic deal might be in the works to free Hamadi. But the testimony that's unfolding at the trial increasingly portrays Hamadi as the kind of monster few Western democracies would let go free.
Today it was TWA flight engineer Benjamin Zimmerman's turn to testify. Zimmerman positively identified Hamadi. He said Hamadi was the hijacker who shouted at Navy diver Robert Stethem just moments before Stethem was shot and killed at the front cabin door on a Beirut runway. Zimmerman told how the next day at Algiers airport, he and Hamadi were walking around the plane, Hamadi guarding Zimmerman as the flight engineer checked for problems. As Stethem's parents listened, Zimmerman described the plane's fuselage as still smeared with their son's blood. Then, said Zimmerman, Hamadi joyfully pointed to the blood and at his pistol, and, quote, seemed very proud of the gun and having caused this. It was, Zimmerman told a hushed court, as if Hamadi wanted congratulations. After Zimmerman finished testifying, Hamadi said he would make a statement to the court tomorrow. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, Frankfurt.
3 black opposition leaders escaped from detention in South Africa today and took refuge at the U.S. consulate in Johannesburg. The 3 men are prominent anti-apartheid campaigners. Tonight, it was not clear exactly how they escaped or what they wanted, but their lawyers said they requested a meeting with U.S. Ambassador Edward Perkins. U.S. officials say they know the men and respect them, and they will not be told to leave the consulate.
Why do you take aspirin more than once a week?
Because after one day of tennis, I can have 3 days of aches and pains. But when you take aspirin that often, you wonder about aspirin stomach upset.
Well, now there's a new and better aspirin product for you. Try Buffered Bufferin. Better than plain aspirin because it's 100% aspirin plus 3 buffers to help protect against stomach upset aspirin can cause.
You know, it really is better.
New Try Buffered Bufferin if you take aspirin more than once a week.
For the first time ever, Red Lobster presents 30 shrimp done 4 incredible ways for just $8.95.
You've never had so many shrimp, so many ways. Shrimp that are golden fried, scampi you just must try. Shrimp baked with lots of spice and lemon peppers, oh so nice. You've never had so many shrimp at such a price.
The deluxe shrimp sampler just $8.95. Kids shrimp dinner $1.95 at Red Lobster.
We know how you love seafood.
Henry?
What have you got there?
Total oatmeal?
What about old-fashioned Quaker oats?
Old-fashioned's right.
Uncle Henry, Total Oatmeal's got 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals.
So's mine.
Wrong, Henry.
Total's got 10 times the vitamin and mineral nutrition.
10 times.
Right, Henry. What you thought was in here is really in here.
Total Oatmeal, now in maple brown sugar. If it's Total Oatmeal, it's total nutrition.
A survey out tonight found 1/3 of adults questioned said they personally know a teenager who either committed suicide or attempted to. Almost 3/4 of those adults believe today's teenagers face far more serious problems than they did as teenagers. Drug abuse is the overwhelming problem facing today's teens, according to the adults polled by the National Association of Private Psychiatric Hospitals. In the historic Sierra Nevada foothills of California, firefighters today fought an out-of-control wildfire for a 3rd straight day. Well, that fire has forced thousands to flee their homes and caused damage estimated at more than $10 million. Jerry Bowen is there.
Hand crews were out this morning setting backfires in an effort to contain the firestorm that has now consumed 25,000 acres and 100 houses in California's gold country. Tankers were bombing the hot spots with flame retardant. And weary evacuees, they numbered 8,000 last night, sat in shock at a temporary shelter, still stunned over homes turned so quickly to ashes.
People were telling me not to go back there was fire, and I said I had to because my mom was back there.
Scariest thing I have ever gone through. I'm 65 years old and I've never seen anything so bad.
When the winds came up last night, the hot spots came to life too, some stretching a half-mile across and racing through dry brush and timber around the towns of Rough and Ready and Lake Wildwood. At times, the fire crews could only stand and watch. This morning, when the Rocco family came back home, they stood in disbelief.
Bust your ass all your life, what do you get? Not that it was a new house, it was an old house, but it was home.
The neighborhood farm animals made it through somehow, and nearby so did Dan Van Kott's house. The flames were stopped at the very edge thanks to firemen like Ray Little.
Yeah, I'm glad your house is. Yeah, thank you.
Tonight, the winds are coming back up, but the humidity is higher too, and firefighters are hoping for some kind of break. Some 5,000 houses are still in danger. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Faced with the flood of applications from Armenians and others, the United States is moving to limit the number of refugees it accepts from the Soviet Union. Secretary of State Schultz told Congress today the U.S. can no longer assume that all Soviets wanting to immigrate are genuine refugees. From now on, Schultz said, U.S. officials in Moscow will ask for proof that a person faces actual persecution inside the Soviet Union. President Reagan has settled a top-level policy dispute. He will allow an American company to launch satellites aboard a Chinese rocket. Defense Secretary Carlucci said today the president has given the green light to the Hughes Aircraft Company to send up 3 communications satellites. Carlucci said the Chinese will launch them, but that the satellites will be under the control of the American company at all times.
the making of freeze-dried Taster's Choice coffee. Search the world for the finest coffee beans. Grind them. And at the peak of freshness, brew the richest, most aromatic coffee you can brew. Then freeze it. Freeze-drying locks in the fresh brewed aroma and flavor until you release it. For a truly superior cup of coffee, the choice for taste is Taster's Choice.
Taste it.
Ann Robbins is about to get a visit from an old friend. Pain. With age, her minor arthritis has made even simple moves painful ones. That's why her next move is to Metaprin. Metaprin has the same medicine as Motrin, and nothing's proven faster for relief of minor arthritis pain or any kind of pain. It's also gentler to your stomach than aspirin. Metaprin works fast when you haven't got time for the pain.
Why, I like new microwave stuffing from Stovetop.
It's so easy. I can make it with my eyes closed. You just mix it in its own dish, and zap! In 3 minutes, you get your favorite tasting stuffing. See?
New Stovetop microwave stuffing.
Now for indigestion, gas, introducing new extra strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new extra strength Malox Plus.
Beginning this weekend, 13,000 athletes from 160 nations will compete in the Summer Olympics. But there is a more important international competition going on. Economists, politicians, and other critics say the United States is losing the economic battle for its share of the world's marketplace. They cite the hard fact of the United States' fall from the world's largest creditor nation to the world's largest debtor nation. But only today, the U.S. Commerce Department said record exports cut the nation's trade deficit in the second quarter to a two-year low of $33.3 billion. Against talk of inevitable economic decline, is that just one bright spot in a bleak economic picture? As the 1988 Olympics open in Seoul, in the first of a series, we look beyond the games for the real gold. And as a sign America's come back, business correspondent Ray Brady found rebirth in the old U.S. Rust Belt.
You see it when you go to Cleveland. 4 years ago, no smoke came from these stacks. They had been snuffed out by foreign companies. But now the smoke is rising again, and so is hope. America's fighting back.
We got fat, dumb, and happy, and you can't exaggerate how fat, dumb, and happy we got. Along came the Japanese, who challenged us across the board, and the American people are reacting to the challenge.
Example, Caterpillar, almost knocked out of business by the Japanese. But this year, its profits could hit a record. USX, big steel, helped by the lower dollar, it will sell 100,000 tons of steel this year to Japan. M.A. Hanna, once a giant in iron ore, but in 1982 the company almost went out of business. Then it went into new businesses, chemicals, plastics, and now employs 9,000 workers.
We still got to do more. We just got to continually work at it.
What's happening here is the restructuring of American industry. There was a bitter human cost. Thousands lost their jobs. But out of that came new ways of doing things, new technologies, and a renewed American industry ready to take on even foreign competition. Along with new plants and machines, there are new ways of handling workers. At Cleveland Track Material, boss Bill Willoughby treats workers like co-workers. There are no time clocks, no work rules. Something goes wrong, everybody pitches in.
There are a lot of people who said we couldn't succeed. In some cases, for our guys here, that's all they needed to hear.
James Jackson is one of those guys.
We're on the honor system. Foremen don't always breathe down our back. They let a man do his job. They figure if a man gonna do his work, they won't bother.
The American economy is still far from perfect. Thousands of factory workers remain out of work. Washington still struggles with huge deficits, and workers' pay hasn't caught up with profits.
We need to become more productive. We need to get our new inventions from the laboratory to the factory much faster, train our workers, produce an A1, #1 educational system. We can do it.
They're proving we can do it in the high-tech world near Boston. Two partners, one from England, one from China, with one dream to start their own company. So why come here?
This is one country which is very resilient and can always bounce back and be successful in the international marketplace.
The partners now sell $15 million a year worth of modems for computers, including to Japan.
In reality, the competitiveness of America is very, very great indeed, and it's just getting the belief back in that if you actually set out to do something, you can actually achieve it.
So there may be signals in that smoke, signals that the belief is back, that America's coming back, getting ready to take on the world. Ray Brady, CBS News, Cleveland.
By the way, according to our CBS News New York Times poll, most Americans are upbeat about the nation's future. People polled by telephone from last Thursday through Sunday were asked if they believed we have seen our best days or would things get better. 30% believed the best was past. More than 60% thought the best is yet to be. About the optimism reflected in that poll and in correspondent Brady's report, is it shared by the rest of the world? How do other economic giants view the U.S. future? To begin trying to find out, we asked Japan's Consul General in New York, who is about to return to Tokyo. Mr. Messer, you've been here how long? Almost 4 years.
Almost, yes.
In total candor, is it a stronger country or a weaker country now than it was when you came here?
I think it is better economically and probably stronger because you have been discussing some of these basic issues and begun to attend to it. American automobiles, I think they have greatly improved in performance and styling and maintenance and quality. May have slipped a little bit, but you have come back. And you're investing more heavily perhaps than we are in the basic industrial equipment. I see that there as well.
You do see that, do you?
Yes.
Mr. Ambassador, personal opinion.
Yes.
Are our best years behind us?
I don't believe that's true. I think it's ahead of you.
Do you think we're too pessimistic?
Yes, it's a little surprising because the Americans tend to be very optimistic. Look at the facts. While I was here, the U.S. economy was expanding. You're still leading the world in technological innovation. I would in fact say the fact that people talk about certain difficulties, possible shortcomings, is in fact the strength of the United States rather than its weakness.
For years now, the story of U.S. trade with Japan has centered on a flood of Japanese exports to this country and what seemed a trickle of U.S. exports to Japan. But tomorrow we'll look at the growing list of U.S. companies in Japan who are scoring impressive successes. For now, that's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather, see you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith.
And I'm Kathleen Sullivan. Tomorrow, the latest on Hurricane Gilbert.
Also, Casper Weinberger, now the publisher of Forbes, and Charlie Sheen on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.
Hi, I'm Chris Clark.
And I'm Brenda Blackman. Next on Eyewitness News, Northwest Davidson County wins the 2 top spots for Metro's new landfill. We'll have a report from one of the 2 sites.
The wrath of Hurricane Gilbert traps at least 30 Middle Tennesseans in the Cayman Islands while friends and family members wait for word on their safety. And a critical report on a frightening fire last February on board an American Airlines flight in Nashville.
Those stories plus a 44-year search for the owner of a Bible next on Eyewitness News.